something like if your mayor wanted to put up a welcome to Dixon sign, a big gateway, pretty monument sign with some landscaping, our goal in excess land is to have that license to that mayor within 9 months of the excess land committee's approval. And I'll talk about the excess land committee a little bit more here in a minute. That's our goal for a typical license. Now, how long is it going to take for these automated license plate reader licenses? The the honest answer to that is at this point, I don't know. And the reason I don't know is because this is new to us also. Okay, we just started this process just like you and everybody else that's doing this. So, uh, but on paper, I've run a bunch of numbers and I've done a bunch of studying and a bunch of figuring and reducing and streamlining and expediting all that good stuff. And so our goal is to reduce that time, cut it in half, take that 9 month process and cut it in half. So mine and Cameron's goal is from the time you submit your application with all the correct information and we say, hey, we're good to go. My goal is to get you that license within 4 to 5 months after that. Again, I know that seems like a long time. You would think, well, hey, you can just look at it and tell me my stuff's good and sign it. But that again, there's a whole lot of factors that weigh into that. So that is our goal, is 4 to 5 months on that. Now, a little bit about the environmental review, and I'll get into that more later also. But one thing that can help you on your environmental review timeline, or my review timeline, which affects you directly, of course, is the environmental division at TDOT has told me that their goal is 8 weeks maximum on LPR camera requests that are going to be located on new poles or on existing poles in historic districts. And you got to think about that. So what that means is if you've got a bunch of locations and you've got, 10 locations that you're wanting to put these cameras on existing poles, there's no disturbance to the ground. Okay, you're going to go out there and you're going to strap these to that pole. Now, they still have to do their other reviews. It's not like they can just rubber stamp it, but they're saying that review right there on an existing pole is going to be about half the time as if you wanted to put, as a review would take if you were going to put a new pole in the ground. And again, the thinking there is you're going to disturb the ground. Anytime you disturb the ground, that immediately triggers the archaeological aspect of the technical review. That means the Native American tribes need to be contacted and they do all the archaeological stuff. And by law, they have 30 days to respond. So that extends the environmental review to the full 8 week max. I know that's not practical for everybody. You're not going to be able to just find existing utility poles and just put them all on those poles. I understand that, but if there's the opportunity to, then that might help speed up that timeline that we're shooting for a little bit more on the environmental side. So just stick that little nugget back in the back of your head and use it if you need to. If it can help you and benefit you, good. Maybe you can even brainstorm it to where you can group them together. If you've got 6, let's say, that are going on existing poles, maybe you apply for those 6 under one license, and you might get that license a little bit quicker. And then you've got 6 more that are going to be on new poles. Maybe you separate those out in an application by yourself. I mean, that's up to you to decide how you want to do it. I just wanted to throw that out there, that if it is a new pole or a a pole that's located in a historic district, it adds a little more time because of the archaeological coordination that has to take place on those. All right, Ben, I think that's it on that one. Talk a little bit about the process. First thing you're going to do is submit an application. Everybody wants to know, where do I get an application? Very, very simple. If you will go, you don't even have to remember that big long address that he put. If you will just simply Google TDOT excess land, that's all you got to do. TDOT excess land. Excess meaning surplus, extra. Just Google that, and it's going to pull up my website. And my website is about like me. It's very simple-minded. I like to keep things simple and easy. I work in a firm or a department that's full of engineers, and they're a lot of times on a different level than me. We like to keep things easy in our office. So this is designed to be pretty user-friendly and easy to find. Once you get on there, you scroll down the bottom, there's an automated license plate reader program. It gives you a little bit of background. It gives you the code there. If you are bored to tears and have insomnia, just look that up. It'll put you to sleep if you want to read it. But you scroll on down there and there's the ALPR application. That's it. That's where you hit that button and it'll pop up. And that is our standard application for applying for these things. And the application, I'm going to let Cameron talk about that a little bit more here in a minute, but that's your first step. You'll read through that, you'll fill out that application, and you'll submit it. And there is a standard or a generic, I guess you would call it, email address. It's in that application. It'll tell you what it is. I think it's tdot.accessland@tn.gov, something like that. That's where you're going to submit your application to. Now, that's not some automated email box that nobody ever, there's actually real people there. It's me and Cameron. We're the ones that are monitoring that email box. So when you submit that application in, it's going to us. We're getting it immediately. So please submit it to that. That will save you a delay. And it even says that in the application. We get so many emails all the time anyway. We've got this box designated just for license plate reader application submittal. So please submit it to that. And it explains all that. Once you submit your application, then Cameron's going to pick it up and run with it. He's kind of the man behind the curtain. All right. He's doing the deal for you. He's going to be coordinate with the Department of Safety on the front end. If you remember, some of y'all may remember the old application. It was kind of like a 2 or 3 part application a couple of years ago where you started with the Department of Safety and you got all this stuff, and then you came to us and you got all this stuff, and then we did this, and it was a little more time consuming and confusing for y'all. Now we've kind of hopefully streamlined this and made this easier to where you're dealing with one agency, and that's us. We're going to do the coordination with the Department of Safety. Now, the Department of Safety does have certain requirements they're looking for, and that's all again spelled out in that application. I will say this, the Department of Safety is the guru on that stuff. Okay, they're the subject matter experts on the compliance of your vendor with the state code. So they're looking for all that stuff that's listed in there. And there's a bunch of things like, compliance with TCA section whatever, and be sure your information is all that stuff is what they're looking at, not us. But we're going to do that coordination for you. If they have a problem with it, we're going to come back to you and we're going to say, hey, safety is good with everything except for this. Can you please submit this? Okay, we're going to do all that coordination. But we are not the experts on that information. That's them. So if you have questions about the specifics of that safety part of the explanation of the application, which you'll see here in a minute when he pulls it up there, I'm going to ask that you contact Liz Hale, and I'll give you her information. Liz works for the Department of Safety. She's their general counsel over there. Extremely nice lady, very easy to work with, been very helpful for me and Cameron for the last few months that we've been working with her. She's aware that I'm giving out her information. I'm not just sending it out there without telling her. So she said, yeah, please just have them call me if they have any questions. Once we get that coordination with the Department of Safety, then we are going to coordinate with our region office. When you look on my website, you'll see that I have a region coordinator in each of the 4 regions across the state. Y'all may or may not know them. We've got an office in Jackson, one, of course, in Nashville, one in Chattanooga, and one in Knoxville. That's our 4 regions. And I have a coordinator in each one of those. And so what Cameron's going to do once he gets approval from the Department of Safety, he's going to shoot your information out to the region office, and he's going to tell them to proceed with the request. What they're going to do is they're going to take your information that you've submitted, your location, your proposed locations where you're wanting to put these cameras, and that coordinator is going to do the coordination with our traffic offices and our operation offices. The traffic engineering offices, they're the guys that are looking at the safety aspects. They're looking at how is this going to affect the motoring public. The operations offices, that's our maintenance and construction folks. They're looking at how's this going to affect the ditches, the slopes, the sidewalk, what's this going to do to our physical facilities out there. So they're going to look at all that good stuff, and they're going to either say, hey, it's all good, or no, we got a problem with camera number 6 because it's I don't know. It's located in the ditch. We can't have it in the ditch, whatever. Uh, and if they have a problem with it, then we're going to tell you, we're going to say, hey, everything's good except for camera number 6. Go back to the drawing board or contact your vendor, whoever that is, have them check this out. They need to move it a little bit or whatever. And then once we're good on that, then the region's going to submit that package to me, and I'm going to present this to the Excess Land Committee. The Excess Land Committee is an advisory committee that advises our commissioner on whether or not it's a good idea to do these things. Now, again, this committee is the main committee that's also looking at sales, fair market value leases, typical license, things like that. So they meet every 6 times a year. Every other month, this committee meets, and I present all the requests across the state to the committee. And I have them, I have this information up on the screen, do this big display, and let them all look at all the information. Then they vote. They take a vote on whether or not this is a good idea, whether or not it's going to affect TDOT's facility, compromise our facility in any way. Because, as you know, our main priority at TDOT is the safety of the motoring public transporting people from point A to point B safely. We obviously want to work with local agency to accommodate things like this, but the number one priority is the roadway and the people on it. So they're looking at all that, and they will make a recommendation whether to approve or deny the request. I can pretty much tell you on these LPR requests, you're not going to get denied. Not again, don't quote me on that, but you know what I'm saying. It's already been through an extreme good review process at the region level. So by the time it comes to me and I'm presenting it to the committee, the traffic engineers and operation folks at the regions, they're good with it. So there is a very, 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 very slim chance that the committee would ever say, nope, that's not going to work. So I think we're good on that end, and we have been so far. We've been doing several of these, and it's working out like a champ so far. Once I get that recommendation from the Excess Land Committee, that's when we're going to enter into the environmental review process. Talked about that a while ago, so I don't want to bore you with those details anymore. But basically, we're going to officially send your request to the Environmental Division of TDOT and say, y'all do your thing. Y'all study this and tell me when we're good to go. Once the environmental review is complete, they're going to send me an approved programmatic categorical exclusion, which is basically a document that says, hey, we looked at everything we're supposed to look at that the feds require, and you're good. You're good to go. I will then get FHWA, which is the Federal Highway Administration. I will get their concurrence and approval if that's applicable. That's on interstate right of ways and things like that. A lot of y'all won't be on the interstate, so that won't apply to you. And then the final step is we'll have the license prepared and executed. Here's another place that you can probably help yourself a little in the timeline. What we see sometimes on some of the bigger local agencies, some of the bigger governments like the metros of the world, when we send them the license to be signed, it takes, 2 or 3 council readings for them to get it signed. Well, you're looking at 2 or 3 more months, and that's just stacking onto that time frame. So if you can do whatever you can do on your front end to tell your mayor or whoever it is that's going to be signing this thing, if you can go ahead and prep them for it and say, hey, this is coming, be aware, when we get it to you, the quicker you can get him to sign it, and your city attorney or whoever, it may be your police chief, it may be your sheriff, I'm not sure who's going to enter into the agreement for your agency, but the quicker you can get that signed and back to me, then I can get it upstairs to my commissioner and we can have it executed and you're good to go. So that in a nutshell was kind of the process. And again, that's a real general overview of it. It's a little more detailed than that, but I just wanted to keep it kind of general and not bore you with too many details about it. With that, I think I might just pause for a minute and turn it over to Cameron, if you don't mind, Cameron. I'll let him talk to you briefly if he wants to about the application a little, maybe some of those specifics and what he's seeing.
Brian, can I pause even before we get to that and see, first of all, I had a question on one of these bullets, and then I wanted to see if maybe folks in the audience had any questions just about this kind of overview of the process, if that's all right. My question was with the Excess Land Committee meetings that happen, you said every other month. When is the next meeting?
That part I may have left that out. That part is one of the things that I streamlined. I do not wait for the every other month meeting. I got blessing and approval from my executive leadership to immediately email these LPR camera requests out to the committee members as soon as I received them. So that is one of the things, kudos to my team and those above that approve that process, but we do not wait on the every other month committee meeting.
Amazing. Okay. That really helps, I think. Will help agencies move forward through this process that you all have done that. That's incredible. Does anyone else who's listening have any questions? Feel free to write in the chat if you do, and we can move on with Cameron's present part of the presentation, and we can kind of go back and answer questions in the chat. But does anyone want to come off of mute and ask any questions about what Brian has just gone over so far? Okay, well, it doesn't seem like we have any questions, but again, if anything comes up, please feel free to write them in the chat. I will advance to the next slide. Or Cameron, did you want me to pull up the application?
If you want to pull it up, that's fine. That'll work. Okay. As you see here, we got the application pulled up. Ben, if you want to just kind of scroll down through here a little bit, our step one there, that is our step one is just submit an application to the TDOT excess of land email. Like Brian said, me and him check that email pretty frequently, so we normally get to those pretty quick. If you want to scroll on down there a little bit more, I'll go over our part. I believe it's just, if you want to scroll all the way down to probably page 5 or so. Okay, this right here, the department or whoever's submitting this will fill this out. Your name of the requester, that could be the city, the police department, the sheriff's office, whatever you want that to be. On number 2, that'll be the name that you want on the license. So for example, if you put your police department or the city up here on number 1 and also wanted it to be on the license agreement, you wouldn't have to, you could just leave that blank. Down here in number 3, it'd be the contact name and address for if your name was different than above. So say you put the city or the police department up on number 1 or number 2, that's where you would put your personal name as a contact. So we could always contact, like for example, Sheriff XYZ here, and name and address. If you go down here, number 4 here.
Can I ask?
Yes,
do
sir.
y'all typically see that it is the local law enforcement agency that is applying, or is it the city or the county that's applying?
We've just seen kind of a mixture of both so far. We've had some be the city, police departments, some be the sheriff's offices, and some be just the city of XYZ. Just depended on, I guess, however they want to do the license agreement. Number 4 here. Most of y'all probably will be either a local law enforcement agency or local government body. So if you put on the license agreement that the license needs to be in the name of the city, you would want to check the bottom box for local government. If it's going to be in the name of the city police department or sheriff's office, you'd want to check that middle box for local law enforcement agency. So Ben, if you just want to go on down to number 6 there, I think that'd probably be the last page. So right here, this kind of gives you a good checklist of what all you will need whenever you get ready to submit your application. Whenever I'm checking them, personally, I always just pull the application up and go down the list, checking them off as I go. So first of all, we'll obviously need the application. We also need the legislative body approval. That is something that I've seen that several agencies have forgotten. So just make sure you have that in there. Also with the application, just make sure you're using the correct one. We've had some issues with some people using the ones from the past, and that would also delay the process a little bit if you have to go back and refilling out an application, all that good stuff. So with 6A, you'll just want to provide the exact location, such as like the coordinates, distance from the edge of pavement if it's going to be a new pole put up. We also will need to know if it's going to be an existing pole or a new pole. So if you could add that in, I know for folks that have been using Motorola, that usually comes with a spreadsheet. So if you could just add that on the spreadsheet, that would be great. Also with the aerial, we do need an aerial exhibit. However, if you've been using Motorola, the software they have has a great aerial, and that's what we've been using. So far it's worked great. With the proposed plan on how they'll be installed and maintained, you could just provide something on that's normally saying that the vendor's going to install and maintain them. They normally provide some kind of papers, like a contract or something, and that's what we've been using for that one as well. And 6D, that's another one that people have forgotten a lot. We will need to know how the cameras are going to be powered. So, for example, I know some of them have been solar powered and others have been wired in. That is something good to add to that spreadsheet as well, just letting us know how it's going to be powered. We've had several people that we've had to go back and ask them to provide that, and that could also delay the process a few days, just until you get that fixed. 6E, we're going to need the utility owners or their approval. So if you're putting up a camera on a existing pole, please provide some kind of approval from the utility pole owner. Down here in number 7, the proof of public liability insurance or self-insurance, if you could just provide a copy of that, normally in a PDF is what we've been seeing people submit in. Just needs to be up to date, and that'll be great. And then down here at the bottom, you'll just sign it, sign date, and signature, and your title. And that's just kind of a quick rundown of kind of the application in our part. Just on if you want to close out of that and just go to the issues there, kind of let them see. I think I ran through them all. But yeah, that right there that's some of the issues we've been seeing so far. I mean, if you just provide everything, then we should be good to go and can easily get that submitted over to the Department of Safety and hopefully get it on track to hopefully get it on a good time. But I think that's all the issues we've had, or the big issues.
All right, thank you, Cameron. I appreciate
sir.
that. Let me just go back right quick. Let's see, Ben, can you pull that application back up if you still got it there handy? Scroll back up. Let's just check out number 5 right quick. So that's section number 5. That's what I was telling y'all. This is the Department of Safety's area of expertise. These are the things that they're responsible for reviewing and approving. This is way outside of TDOT's area or jurisdiction. Again, we're concerned about the safety of our roadway and the people on it. Safety is concerned about the security of the information that's being recorded by your cameras and what's happening with it. So I understand that some of y'all may have questions about this, and the fact of the matter is we don't know at TDOT. However, Miss Liz Hale is her name. Cameron, can you put her information up in that chat box thing there where they can get Liz's information? She's the lady that I would ask that you call or email if you have any questions about the specifics of this information. And like I said, she's aware that I'm giving out her information. So I will say this, if you are using Motorola as your vendor, that's the one that we've been dealing. We've already been processing quite a few of these applications. There's already several in the process right now. Motorola has been the vendor of those, so they know what to do. Okay, those guys, whoever's is the man behind their curtain at Motorola. They know what we need because they've been working with Cameron, and they'll know exactly what to do. So just keep that in mind. If you are using that vendor, then they're going to know what to do. If you're doing this on your own, that's fine too. You know, we'll get through this together. We are here to help you. Please understand that we're very proud of what we've done so far, even though we're just starting this and we don't have a baseline yet for how long it's going to take because we haven't completed one yet. But we're very proud of what we've taken so far and condensed this crazy long process into something a whole lot faster for specifically for these LPRs. So we are here to help you, and we want to get you through this as painless as possible because we know you've got an actual real job to do out there doing what you do, and we don't want you to get wrapped up in this stuff. We want to kind of do as much as this and help you along as we can. So use us as a resource. There are some examples on the website also that kind of show an aerial. And again, these are some older examples. Motorola stuff that they're using is a whole lot better than this stuff that I've got on my website. But these are some acceptable examples that show you an aerial. And then there's a street view, of course, showing you the pole that it would be located on, if it was an existing pole. So if you're doing it on your own, that'll give you an idea of kind of what we're looking for and what we need to show our traffic engineers so they can go out. They're the boots on the ground. They're going to go out and look at it and be sure it's not going to affect anything with our facility. Like I said, we are currently processing these. We have, I don't know, Cameron, how many we've got right now. There are 12 or so, or 15 maybe that we're processing right now.
Yeah, I'd say probably 14 or 15.
And a whole lot more coming. And so we're getting our feet wet now. We're taking what we thought was a good idea, and it was a pretty good idea. And every time we're revising it and getting a little better and a little quicker. So I can say this: the quicker you get your application to me, the quicker we can get this thing rolling. I can only do what I can do, and I can't do what I do until I get your application. So I need you to do whatever you have to do on your end to get it to me, and then we're going to go. We're going to figure it out. We're going to go with it. So my advice, there's a bunch of these in the works and a bunch more in the pipeline and everything else. So I would just advise to get them to me as quick as possible if you're under some kind of deadline or whatever. If you're not and your timing is good, then, that's fine too. I just, trying to make you aware that it is going to take us just a little bit of time to get these licenses in place. So don't wait till the last minute. If you're under some kind of a deadline for your grant money, get it to me as soon as possible. And the other thing is, if you have to, and I don't know anything about the grants, so you got to take what I say about that with a grain of salt. But if my excess land committee recommends approval, on which, if you remember, it's on the front end of the process. If they recommend approval of the request, then it's going. Okay. Now there's still more stuff to happen, but that means it's recommended for approval and it's going to happen. So if your grant stuff works out to where you can buy your product then and not worry about losing your money. And again, that's not my area of expertise. I'm just saying that if that can happen and help you, then go ahead and do it, because you're going to get that license. It's just got to go through the environmental review process and those other checks and balances before we issue it. So keep that in mind too. With that, there's our contact information up there. And again, we're on the website. You can find us anytime. Me and Cameron both work downtown at the Pope building in downtown Nashville when we're not working from home. But when we're working from home, we're also available. Feel free to call us, email us anytime with any questions. Again, we're here to help. And Cameron, were you able to get Liz's information up?
Yes, sir. I put it over here in the chat. Miss Liz Hale. I've just copied her email signature there, and it's got her phone number, email address, and her title and everything. So
good deal.
Have any questions about that part, just contact her.
We'll send that out as well.
And I apologize for those of y'all that sat through this same spiel at the Sheriff's Association meeting and the Chiefs of Police Association meeting a few weeks ago, I did this same. I apologize if y'all had to sit through it twice. Probably didn't know you're going to get the same thing again. But anyway, it is what it is. And if y'all have any questions, we'll be more than happy to try to answer them for you.
Well, I do think, Brian, it was really helpful because I think a lot of folks probably, if they heard it a second time, now they actually have, they know that they're doing it, or they know what it's going to look like more. And so I have no doubt that this was useful information on the first hearing and probably also on the second hearing as well. So thank you both. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Cameron, for coming. Does anybody have any questions in the chat, or does anybody want to come off of mute and ask your question? This is the best time. This is the perfect time to ask Brian and Cameron. You have them here. Get all your questions answered. While folks are thinking of questions, I do think we have one here in the chat, and I'll just read it out. This might even be for me, though, or for our team. Will OCJP permit the purchase of cameras at the time of the initial approval step TDOT spoke about? So that's kind of what I think Brian was getting at the end. If it gets to that approval stage, then you maybe know you're getting your license. Is it okay to purchase the cameras at that time? That is a question that we're going to put back on you. You have to follow your agency's internal procurement policies when it comes to making purchases. When you of course, there's a process of purchasing a piece of equipment like this too, right? You don't just go to the store and buy it. So we know that it takes time. If you're going to submit the purchase order, I don't know what the delivery timeline is. Maybe Brian or Cameron, you guys have some knowledge of that, or some experience with when it gets, the license is issued and how long it takes after the fact. I know that y'all are doing most of your work on the front end, but I would say it's not about OCJP permitting the purchase at a certain time. It's about what your agency and following your internal procurement policies dictate. What you have to do is make the purchase within the fiscal year that you have the funds budgeted. So most of you all have the funds budgeted in FY24 in this present fiscal year, which ends June 30th of 2024. If you don't think that you're going to be able to expend your funds, as in actually make the purchase of this item before June 30th, then please reach out to your project management specialist. Reach out to us, and we can talk about what we think should happen if we need to move this money. We would need to amend your contract, and that itself is a process. It doesn't have to negate the process of working with TDOT. In fact, you should probably get started, even if you think it's not going to happen, you're not going to make the purchase until after the end of the fiscal year. I would get started with TDOT because you have your contract, you have the money for LPRs. You can go ahead and start this process now. That was a lot I just shared, but Brian or Cameron, do y'all have any insight into once a purchase is made, when the delivery, what that timeline is? A
purchase of the camera. No, we don't have anything to do with purchasing the camera. We're
Yeah.
strictly dealing with licenses. We have nothing, zero to do with any money, purchasing grants, nothing. Our timeline is strictly from someone submitting an application until we give them an executed license agreement to install their product, their hardware, their software on our right of way. That's all we have control over.
I figured, and I put as much in this slide here, where any questions you have about the process of applying, about the license, that all goes to TDOT. I will update this slide to fix this typo, but also to add Liz Hale's information. Questions related to the Department of Safety part of the process, I'll put her stuff in here. All other questions send to us, and we can try to get your questions answered, whether it is about the delivery timeline or something else. We'll do our best to provide that information for you. But we need to know what questions y'all have. You'll have to send those to us. Do we have any other questions for Brian or Cameron while they're here? And if not, we'll let y'all go, and we'll finish up here in the remaining 15 minutes. This is great. I guess everyone is an expert now, thanks to you, Brian and Cameron. We appreciate your guys' time. Any further questions, please, they've said y'all can reach out to them directly. You can also shoot them over to us and we'll make sure they get to the right place. So with that, Brian and Cameron, y'all are welcome to go about your business. And we thank you again for your time.
Appreciate everybody listening to me ramble. And like I said, if y'all have any questions at all, just give us a call. We're here to help. That's what we do. We love working with everybody. The local agencies so far have been great to work with. We work with several counties, sheriff's department and police departments and mayors, and everybody's been extremely good to work with. And we really appreciate that. And we are here to help. So y'all just give us a call. We'll get through this together. We'll figure it out.
All right. Take care, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For other folks, if you want to stay tuned, we do have a couple of reminders and things related to VCIF, although it's not directly related to LPRs, that we'd love to share with you all. There are several free trainings that are being offered. There was originally 1 page of this in the last office hours meeting last month. Now I have 2 pages of trainings that are going to be offered. I'll send out this PowerPoint as well to folks at the conclusion of this training. And I'm going to actually end the recording now as well, just so